There's something Australians don't always admit when they talk about America. Because when Australians compare themselves with the United States, they usually talk about what Australia does better. Healthcare, beaches, work-life balance, public spaces, lifestyle. But spend enough time listening to Australians talk about America, and another side starts to appear. Because there are things America does that can make an Australian look at the screen and think, okay, I actually wish we had that. And we're not talking about Hollywood. We're not talking about the Statue of Liberty. And we're definitely not talking about hamburgers. We're talking about everyday things. Things Australians see in American life and think, why don't we have more of that here? Some are surprisingly small, some involve money, some involve food. Some involve houses, shopping, entertainment, travel, careers, and sheer convenience. And number 30 might sound ridiculous, until you realize just how different everyday American life can be. So today, we're counting down 30 things Australians may secretly envy about America. And stay until number 1, because the final one isn't something you can put in a shopping cart, it's something much bigger. Let's start. Number 30, the sheer size of American choice. Imagine walking into an American supermarket, not because you're preparing for Christmas, not because you're throwing a party, just because you need toothpaste. And suddenly, you're standing in front of an entire wall of options. Different brands, different sizes, different flavors, different prices, different versions of the exact same product. For an Australian used to a smaller market, American retail can feel almost excessive. But that's exactly the appeal. If you don't like one product, there's probably another one. And if you don't like that one, there's another. America's enormous consumer market creates something Australians can absolutely appreciate. Choice. Number 29. Massive shopping variety. Australians don't exactly lack shopping options, but America operates on another scale. Huge shopping centers, outlet malls, warehouse stores, specialty stores, grocery stores the size of small towns, and entire retail destinations built around one category. You can travel through an American city and discover stores selling things you didn't even know had their own stores. And for someone visiting from Australia, that variety can be genuinely exciting. But number 28 takes this even further. American portion sizes. Let's be honest, Australians know this one. You order something in America, and suddenly the plate arrives looking like it was designed to feed a family. A drink can look like a swimming pool, a dessert can look like architecture, and an Australian visitor may stare at it and ask, is this one serving? Yes, apparently. Now, Australians aren't necessarily saying bigger is healthier. They're saying bigger can feel like value. And that difference matters because America has built an enormous culture around getting more for your money. And that leads directly to number 27, the variety of American restaurants. America isn't just one food culture. It's thousands of food cultures sitting on top of each other. Regional barbecue, Mexican food, Southern food, Italian-American food, Asian cuisines, seafood, steakhouses, diners, food trucks, fast food chains, fine dining, and tiny local restaurants that exist in one neighborhood and nowhere else. Australia has an incredibly diverse food scene too. But America's scale means the sheer number of regional specialties can be astonishing. And then there's number 26, regional identity. An Australian can travel thousands of kilometers and still be in Australia. An American can cross a state line and suddenly feel like they've entered a completely different cultural environment. Texas doesn't feel exactly like New York. Florida doesn't feel exactly like Oregon. California doesn't feel exactly like Louisiana. Different accents, different food, different landscapes, different traditions, different sports, different histories. That enormous internal variety is something Australians may envy, because America can feel like multiple countries inside one country. And number 25 is even more practical. The enormous domestic travel market. Think about the number of places Americans can visit without leaving their own country. Mountains, deserts, tropical beaches, national parks, huge cities, small towns, theme parks, coastlines, different climates. And you don't necessarily need a passport. For Australians, domestic travel can also be incredible. But Australia's geography means long-distance travel often comes with a very different calculation. America's sheer size creates an almost endless domestic travel playground. And if you're enjoying this comparison so far, don't go anywhere. Because we've barely touched the things that can make America especially attractive to Australians. Before we get into the next section, subscribe to Aussie Lens. Because this channel isn't about saying Australia is better than America, or America is better than Australia. We're interested in the fascinating stuff that happens when you put the two side by side. The little things Australians notice, the things Americans notice, and the differences that nobody thinks about until they actually experience them. So if that's your kind of content, subscribe now. And tell me in the comments, what's one thing America does better than Australia? Let's see what Australians say. Now let's continue. Number 24. The American entertainment industry. Australia has world-class entertainment, but America is the global entertainment machine. Movies, television, music, sports, streaming, theme parks, live events, comedy, concerts, and massive entertainment destinations. For an Australian visitor, walking around an American city can sometimes feel like walking through the backstage area of the entertainment industry itself. And number 23 makes that even more obvious. American sports culture. Australia has an enormous sports culture, but America has something different. Scale plus variety. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, motorsports, and countless other professional and amateur competitions. For Australians who love sport, the experience of attending a major American sporting event can be incredible. The stadium, the crowd, the entertainment, the traditions, the merchandise, the food. It's not simply watching a game, it's an event. Number 22. The college sports experience. This one can genuinely surprise Australians. In America, college sports can attract enormous crowds and passionate followings. Students, alumni, families, and entire communities can build traditions around universities. The atmosphere can feel more like professional sport than what an Australian visitor might expect from a university competition. And that leads to number 21, the American university experience. American universities can be enormous. Large campuses, dormitories, sports facilities, student organizations, libraries, restaurants, gyms, research facilities, and entire campus communities. For an Australian, the scale can be fascinating. You're not simply attending classes. At some universities, the campus itself becomes a miniature city. But now let's talk about something far more controversial. Number 20. American houses can be enormous. Drive through some American suburbs, and an Australian visitor may see houses that seem almost absurdly large. Multiple bedrooms, large garages, basements, big yards, multiple bathrooms, huge kitchens, and sometimes enough storage space to make an Australian apartment owner deeply jealous. Of course, housing varies enormously by location, and America's expensive cities can have very different realities. But outside the most expensive markets, the amount of physical space available in some American homes can be striking. And number 19? This is one Australians may notice immediately when shopping. The availability of huge warehouse stores. You need groceries, furniture, electronics, cleaning supplies, snacks, maybe even a kayak. There's a very good chance you can find an enormous store designed to sell all of it. America's warehouse retail culture is built around scale. Buy more, save more, drive home, store it somewhere. And for Australians used to a smaller retail footprint, the experience can feel both ridiculous and strangely satisfying. Number 18. American tipping culture. Now before Australians start yelling at the screen, hear me out. Australians generally don't envy the pressure of tipping. But some Australians may appreciate the ability to directly reward exceptional service. In Australia, service workers generally aren't dependent on the same tipping structure. That's a major difference. But American tipping also creates a highly visible connection between customer experience and reward. So this isn't necessarily Americans have better tipping. It's the idea that Australians can appreciate being able to directly reward someone who gave exceptional service. But there is another American advantage Australians may notice. Number 17. The sheer convenience culture. America has built entire industries around convenience. Drive-through pharmacies, drive-through restaurants, drive-through coffee, delivery services, huge online marketplaces, pickup orders, curbside collection. You can sometimes accomplish an entire afternoon of errands without properly getting out of your car. And yes, Australians may secretly love that, because sometimes convenience isn't glamorous. It's just convenient. We're halfway through, and now I want your honest answer. Australians watching this, which one so far would you actually bring back to Australia? And Americans watching, which one did I leave out? Put it in the comments. And if you're enjoying this Australia versus America deep dive, subscribe to Aussie Lens for part 2.